stick of liver. I'm like, okay.
Out this week. Mr. Crum?
Yeah.
Red berries on the holly this year. I don't know if you've seen it at all.
I do have one.
You've caught it, it's just,
It's vibrant. It's gotta be the rain, right?
It's gotta be.
Changed.
Or, yeah, or the cold, or the, I need to set that up.
so one of the cameras.
Good evening, everyone.
Apples are actually pretty good. given
My name is Pete Berube. Tonight is the 4th of October. I'm going to call the Finance Committee meeting to order and ask that the members introduce themselves. Thank you.
Sarah Reyes.
Peter Underhill.
Joyce Priority.
Jody Garson.
Kathy McInnes.
Jen Zaretsky.
John Lore.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We have a short agenda tonight, and I think we'll have an even shorter meeting. There's been a little bit of changes to some information that are received from the town administrator, and I've also spoke with town council on, there are some restrictions on what the committee can do in terms of publishing its position on ballot measures. It doesn't outright prohibit us from doing so, but there's financial restrictions on disseminating information in preparation for a ballot information. And I'm certainly not the legal expert on it, but really as I understand it, it's the Finance Committee can't use public resources to take a political position on a ballot measure, even though I don't really feel it's a political position. It's not worth arguing. It's pretty clear to others that we cannot use funds, for instance, for a mailing, or we cannot use town website or town Facebook or something like that, other resources to send our position out to our community. So in my discussion with both Mr. Kaczynski and Mr. Tallerman, again, town attorney, what I proposed we do would be to have our discussion or have our comments, which are in draft format, as part of the record for our meeting, not tonight, but likely for next week. We would read those comments. We would have a document in the meeting materials that would be posted to the meeting materials and would also be included in the minutes in terms of what that opinion is for both sides. And then that would not quite be it. Then it is up to us as individuals. If we wanted to, we could link to those sites via, say, for instance, and you know, as we would be doing that as individuals, we could link those materials on, say, Millis Public Forum, not as the FinCom, but as individuals. I ran that by Mr. Tallerman this afternoon. He had no issues with doing that. And it's really the best I can come up with, short of one of us or any of us ponying up personal funds to you know, send a mailing out or something like that. It's not something I'm looking to do. Candidly, I think that my personal opinion is that this measure is going to pass. When I say this measure, I mean the 11 community ballot measure is going to pass. I mean, the numbers are just such that it's more likely that it will than it won't. And I think our vote kind of demonstrates that. We're 5-4, as close as you can get. It's not like it's that cut and dry. I've read the minority opinion. I agree with much of it, and just as the minority opinion says, you know, there are points in it where they agree with the majority opinion. So it's just, you know, it may be, I've lost a little bit of my gusto in terms of taking a position, but ultimately I still come back to, it's our job to advise the town on financial matters of the town, whether it's on warrant, specifically on warrant, it's very clear, and it's not much of a stretch when it's not necessarily in a warrant if it's a ballot measure, because it will eventually be on a warrant within the budget. So that's the new information that I have for everyone. I'm happy to have a discussion. again, I propose that we finalize our opinions, the two opinions that we would draft up, and be prepared to essentially read them verbatim, not quite like a warrant article, but very close to verbatim, and have those written up and in final form so that they can be read at a meeting next week, entered into record prior to, likely on Friday or Monday, within 48 hours, and then posted as meeting materials. We'll ask Deirdre we'll keep the agenda fairly as light as we can, although we do have much work to be done to prepare for town meeting, so we can't keep the agenda that light. But in order to facilitate meeting minutes be posted quickly, that still leaves us almost 2 weeks for that material to be out on the internet. So,
So that,
questions, comments?
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Boyardi?
so if we can't, as a committee, is there anyone else who could do the mailing? I mean, if it came from if there was budget, if there was any money, no? Can't come
There are
from the town?
no
at
public
all.
funds. It's not that we don't have the budget, it's we can't use public resources.
Regardless of which? Okay. Ooh, so it would have to be private concerns. And what would the cost of that mailing be? $1,100.
Well, I don't know. Actually, my question for Deirdre, I texted her a few minutes ago, was to ask her whether this, this funding package is for the warrant mailing, or excuse me, the town warrant meeting for fall town meeting, or is it for the discussion of our report or our opinion? And her response is,
It's just the FinCom report.
Yeah.
right, so we're not, this is not,
I just put together a different mailing for the citizens regarding October 24th.
yeah, so tonight's vote is on the traditional, typical report that we send out prior to every town meeting. We don't have a cost, and we're talking about 1 or 2 pages, max, really 1 page max we were talking about a 1-page mailing. The warrant is typically in the fall, several pages. I mean, it's a small booklet,
And
so it could be cheaper.
if there were private people who would want to contribute to this, what would be the time frame for collecting I'm rounding it up, $1,200 for the mailing? What would be the time frame?
I wouldn't even discuss it. It's up to them. I'd stay out of it, and it just
No,
needs
I
to be
mean,
done.
as far as getting it postmarked by, so that just. Hi.
Hi, Carol Johnston, Finance Director. I think that I'm not sure if everybody on the Finance Committee was on the email from Karen Beret DiMarzo today regarding the Ethics Commission and training that needs to be done for all committees and boards and employees of the town before November 3rd. I think it would be good for you to take a look at that. And that would answer a lot of the questions that are going around right now about the ability to.
Yeah, I got it for a different committee.
Okay. I think, were you on?
I have it
Pete?
today, yep.
Okay. So I think that if you were to, it takes an hour. If you were to go ahead and take that training, which everybody has to take, you would answer a lot of the questions that you have tonight.
Okay.
Just know that whether it answers a lot of questions, I don't think it's going to provide a path to us or any public funds being used to do this. And if it's, again, based on a direct conversation, phone conversation with a town attorney and Mr. Kaczynski, I feel like I'm clear that, it's either going to be privately funded and privately initiated to send a mailing out, again, because it's a political action, that I'm not even, again, because this is almost futile,
Right.
I'm not looking to lean so far over the line, I'm not even close. It's just, I want to fulfill our duty to provide an opinion. The committee is split. I still think it's important for us to provide our opinion and make people know, make people aware that our opinion is out there, and they can reference it if they choose to. It's not, in my opinion, it's not going to change much. So,
So at our next meeting, we will be doing the minority and,
we will read them and we will enter them into the record for that
Okay.
meeting.
very good,
It would be my intent.
great,
You know, we'll see what we actually do, but my intent is to,
sure.
my intent
Until you
changes
find
sometimes.
out different.
Right, right. Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, so I have the minority opinion. Sarah or Jen, do you have anything you want to add or discuss, and what we can discuss later? I know I wasn't available this week, I was traveling and I've been ill. So if there's anything you want to comment on now, we can comment on it now, or we can have a separate conversation, you know.
Mr. Chair, did you get the draft I sent to you guys the day after the meeting?
I do.
Okay,
I
okay.
do.
I
Okay.
figured we could have a separate
Okay.
conversation.
Okay. All right, so that, unless there's any further questions, that, we did skip ahead a little bit. Sorry, Carol. That was our discussion on committee's position on the ballot measure, town meeting and warrant article discussion. Mr. Gazinski is not available. He is in Texas, and he told me he's loving the heat. And that's actually not what he said. I'm being very sarcastic. So, Carol, over to you.
The only thing that I have on the warrant articles is the same information you've already been given. It hasn't gone before the select board yet, so no dollars have been assigned to any of these items. And that will be in discussion next Thursday, the October 12th. We'll be at the select board meeting for that. I can tell you that, and I think you all have it in front of you, or it was part of the meeting materials tonight, and part of the materials for the Maytown meeting was the marijuana impact funds and what the items are on the listing that were given for the FY24 budget. So that's $219,785. As far as the opioid funds, nothing's been specifically requested for that. At this point in time, we received $44,000 in FY23. That has to be applied toward opioid mitigation. And so that is included in, it's general fund money, it's included in our free cash number. So that will have to be appropriated at town meeting as to how it is spent. But it has to be on opioid mitigation.
Carol, did I hear you correct? The select board is going to be discussing dollar amounts for this, or for the warrant on the 12th?
Warrant on the 12th.
On the
right.
12th. So that's a Thursday, like kind of an out-of-cycle meeting for them, usually Mondays,
Right,
but, okay.
right. Well, Monday is the holiday.
Yep,
Right.
okay.
I know. I have the kids.
Do you know when the opioid, if and when the opioid money sunsets? Is that a
I
one-year
believe-
appropriation, or?
Well, no, on opioid settlement funds, those can be put into a class reserved for future appropriations on the opioid.
So if
Funding.
it's part of the class action lawsuit, which means it's basically a one-time,
No, and you're actually, it's going to be over a 20-year period,
Okay.
and the town's going to receive, at this point, what I'm aware of is $218,000 over the 20-year period. The reason we received so much in this first year was because Johnson & Johnson wanted to pay 5 years up front, and then the distributors paid 2 years.
okay, okay.
There
Thank
is
you.
additional settlement probably coming in the future, but I wouldn't expect it to be it's based on population size. It's over all of the cities and towns in Massachusetts, so it's, you might hear a large number, but the town itself won't receive a huge number, right?
Shocking as
You're
that
a
might be.
little tiny town.
I'm just going to state this now, there's no reason not. I'm just going to say that I'm looking at the marijuana impact funds. We've known that these funds would be sunsetting, and that's exactly why we'll be having a lot of discussions about how to fund the services. But I personally don't think that that's the only discussion we should have. I think the discussion should also include which of the services that are being funded through host community impact funds go away with the funding. So that's definitely a potential, and maybe some of the opioid funds can go to extend the program, but it's not the only discussion. And I think I just think it's very prudent to discuss which of these services can go away versus just having an override discussion. It's just my personal take on it, and I'm happy to listen to others. I haven't made my decision, and nor have any of us. I mean, I don't know how we'll vote when the time comes to vote, but I would just urge us to look at kind of all mechanisms, funding resources, funding going away, services going away, or on the other side of that is additional taxes.
Right. Just so you're aware, you're only going to receive approximately $8,000 to $10,000 a year in the opioid funding.
To get to
As
the
I
20
said,
years.
this year was giant funding
Yep.
comparatively because Johnson & Johnson wanted to pay 5 years up front.
Understood. Yeah, it's definitely not a boon, and it would be very smart for us to make sure that people don't think, oh, there's $44,000 a year, which is
Exactly.
why I asked the question. So, okay. Thank you. Any more questions for Carol or comments?
Mr. Chair?
Ms.
I was
Grace.
just curious, if there are specific grants that we hear of that could maybe replace some of the money for the HCA, who would we talk to about that? Like, who in town reviews grant proposals or executes them?
Each department would submit their own grant. So if
Okay.
it's for the school would have to submit grant proposals in order to get funding, which they currently do. They do receive grant funding.
And if we or any of the public are aware of any, they certainly can, reach out, email, phone call us, the select board. I mean, I would go, if I learned of something, I would go to the select board. They're the executives of the town. It's their job to push it to the appropriate department. But we certainly can tell, hey, chiefs of fire, we heard of this, are you aware of it, type of thing.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because I did find two, but I just wasn't sure, so I can.
Okay. Okay, no further items or discussion heard on that. So we have bills payable.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Garzon?
I move that we approve the payment of $1,157.40 to the postmaster for fall 2023 postage.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the committee vote to approve funding for $1,157.40 for the fall town meeting mailing. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No abstentions. And if everybody would just sign that. Okay. And the minutes, Deidre did an extensive recounting of our meeting last week.
Yeah,
I
very
appreciate
well
that.
done, Deidre.
I'll take a motion on the meeting minutes.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Garzon.
I move that we accept the minutes of our September 27 meeting as written.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the committee vote to approve the meeting minutes from September 27th as written. Discussion? None heard? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I don't have a,
I was gonna say something.
I don't have a new business, old business, but I'm just gonna take a little bit of liberty, and we have on the schedule coming up for the Capital Planning Committee to come to our meeting and discuss, its recommendations for capital projects. It's been proposed that you would do that, potentially, and potentially spare Mr. Barry from having to do that.
Sure.
And my ask is that you have that discussion with Mr. Barry and
Sure.
see what he's comfortable with
For the 18th?
as the committee chair, or sooner.
Next week.
It's up to you. I don't know where you are in the process. We don't have liaison updates, but you're welcome to give us one.
Okay.
CPC meeting met Tuesday, yesterday. There's 6 new capital recommendations. We do have a draft. I can read that now or next week. Jonathan Berry is going to read that draft to the select board on the 12th of October. And then I can either do it next week or on the 18th when he was scheduled to come in here. There are 6 different, let me just bring up a spreadsheet real quick. 6 different requests. The first one is regarding a new antenna that's going to be installed, and the fire police are going to be using a portion of that antenna. That estimated cost is about $89,373. There's another municipal building HVAC repair, as well as at the fire station, but primarily here, and that's at $75,000. And then we get to, actually, let me go to the library. Has Phase 2 lighting management replacement system for $110,000. That actually came up before the spring meeting. They kind of have a schedule of things that they need to do, so that was kind of postponed then and is up now. And then we swing over to the DPW, and the first one is a new Chevy Silverado pickup truck that will replace the current van that they use. And that one, that cost is $84,906. And then there's 2 bigger ones I'm saving towards the end here. One is a new Vactor truck. And what this is this will clean all of the storm drains, culverts, other items in town. Currently, DPW outsources that. And the thought is to purchase this specialized truck. DPW employees are licensed to run the truck, and over about 5 years or so is the break-even point of paying it. Depends on how much more we'll be using with this truck. There was discussion, but not a priority in terms of could this truck be used for other towns and to rent out. That price tag is $573,559. And the last is the PFAS well 3 treatment plant, which comes in at $7.1 million. And currently there is a federal grant of $3.4 million, and the rest would be paid through borrowing, I believe, Carol, through the enterprise fund.
But at this point, I don't have any. At this point, I don't have any grant agreement for the $3.5 million.
Thank you. Yep, true.
So the authorization going before a town meeting would be similar, more than likely, as what it was for the first well replacement, which would be for the full value of the project, or what they expect it to be, and then any grants that we receive would be applied toward that. In the first one, we did the ARPA. This is the one that Congressman Auchincloss had put through, but for right now, I don't have any agreement.
Correct, and thank you for clarifying.
Okay. So the last 3 projects, the DPW truck, the VAC truck, and the PFAS
Yep.
well, have the potential to be, each of them would have the potential to be partially, at least partially funded through enterprise funds, including the truck.
I have that breakdown.
You can give it to us next week.
Yeah, that's fine.
But it's not straight
Correct.
general fund.
Correct. Going by memory, there's different percentages. You go to water and sewer. Vector truck is through storm, and then there's a few other ones as well. But
Right. Okay.
if you want the percentages, I can look it up real quick.
Okay. So again, I don't know that I eloquently described what I'm looking for. John, he's welcome to come here, and that's really his decision.
Yep.
If he wants to send you, he may.
Okay.
Just to make his life a little easier. I know he does a tremendous amount of work, and if it makes his life easier.
That's fine. And as a refresher, what the CPC committee does is we go through these requests and we prioritize them, everything from high, medium to low, and all these ranked on the highest ranking. And then whether it's Jonathan proposing it to the select board, then they'll make the decision of what should be on the warrant.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Lohr? Ms. Garzon?
I just wanted to remind everyone that there is the 3A MBTA survey that is up on the town website. So the survey closes at midnight on Wednesday, October 11th. Right now, we have about 150 responses so far. This is your chance to kind of go through the survey and indicate which of the options that are presented there you like the best for, and that will inform kind of what direction we head as we refine what we will be recommending for zoning changes to comply with the MBTA 3A Communities Law of having a certain amount of area in town zoned for multifamily housing by right. So that has to be appropriate and suitable for families with children. It can't be 55 and older zoning. It has to specifically allow for families as well. So this is something that's been in the news recently. That, you know, some towns are like all for multifamily as long as it's 55 and older, and this law does not allow that. They have made changes that do allow for mixed use, so that's good. You know, a lot of us want our downtown to be vibrant for businesses and residents, and so we're looking at some of the proposed changes that would allow for some sections of that zoning to allow for that. So go to the survey. We've done a lot of work with MAPC on that. They've put in the bulk of the work. We've just said what we liked and didn't like. So that closes next week. So please, you can go to the town website and there's a link right there. You can go to the website. It works on your phone, tablet, computer. So it doesn't have to be in front of a computer. All right.
Very nice.
Unless there's any further comments or questions, I think that's a wrap, and I'll take a motion.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? John? No? Okay. We are adjourned.